Hi, my name is Carey Parker, and I'm the author of the book, Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons, a step-by-step guide to security and privacy for non-techies. So you could probably figure out right away that by the book title that this is not your average everyday jargon-filled IT book. And that is exactly the point. I really wanted to write a book for everyday non-technical people. Something that's actually fun and entertaining to read. And as you can probably also tell from the title, I like my analogies. And so in the book, to make things easier, I use a lot of analogies. And one of the core analogies in the book is defending a medieval castle. And one of the things that you do when you defend a castle is you've got more than one thing that defends your castle. You've got moats, you've got drawbridges, you've got walls, you've got castle guards. We call that defense in depth. So I use a lot of analogies in the book because I want to make it fun and entertaining. And so I started this 9 years ago, and the first edition was actually self-published, and it was shortly after the Snowden revelations. And I was just kind of shocked at the privacy implications of those things. And I'd always wanted to write a book. And as a software engineer, I was sort of the family IT guy. My family would come to me with questions about, hey, my computer's running slow. Do I have a virus? Should I be running antivirus? What's the most private web browser? How do I protect my data and my devices? So I thought, all right, let me just put this all into a book and let me just dump my brain and try to come up with as many different things that we could do and low-hanging fruit kind of things. Like I wanted these things to be simple and free for the most part. And there's now 200 tips in the 5th edition of this book and 600 pages. And a lot of those pages are pictures because I have step-by-step instructions. So anyway, this book is for everybody. And I tried to keep it as fun and jargon-free as possible and explain everything where necessary. Technology changes all the time. That's one of the things I love about technology. As an engineer, I'm plugged into all sorts of different sources of news about the latest tech trends, and I love my consumer gadgets. But these consumer gadgets come with privacy problems, especially today. Until we have real privacy legislation to protect you here in the United States in particular, we really need to be very careful about how we use our Internet of Things devices, for example, or our smartphones. So how often do I need to update the book? I learned quickly that things like screenshots and operating systems change all the time. And so I really have to kind of keep an eye on that. And when there are major changes in macOS or Windows or iOS or Android that I want to cover, I do actually have an errata website that you can go to for minor updates. But after a while, there's enough changed, and I've learned enough new things because this privacy and security arena changes all the time. I want to do a new version of the book. So yeah, it is challenging. It's not quite the fiction book where you can just write it and forget about it and sit back and take in all the royalties. This is something that needs to be up to date. So I've committed to keeping this book as up to date as possible. And yeah, that's something that has to happen every so often because technology is constantly changing. Privacy and security are on everybody's minds today. More so than when I wrote the book, I think even just 9 years ago, after identity theft and data leaks and data breaches and hacking, all these things going on. I think people are very aware of the need for security and privacy. I think the problem is most people throw their hands up and think, there's nothing I can do. This is beyond me. How do I fight the hackers? How do I fight all the mass surveillance? How do I fight all the tracking? I'm here to tell you there are a lot of things that you could do. And now my book has over 200 tips in it, but you don't have to do all 200 tips. Even I don't do all 200 tips. That's because they don't apply equally to everybody. There are some starred tips. Because there are so many now, I went to the trouble of saying, if you're going to do something, make sure you do at least these that are starred. And there's maybe 40 of those out of the 200, but a lot of the other ones are still easy to do. So what are some top 3 tips that I could give you right now? Well, the one you don't want to hear is the one that's probably the best for your security, and that is to use long, strong, unique passwords on all of your accounts. And I'm here to tell you the human brain is just not up to that task. You can't do it, and the bad guys know this. We pick one password that we think is pretty good and we reuse it in multiple places, or maybe with slight differences. The bad guys know this, and they use that to their advantage. If they manage to guess your password on one site, they will then turn around and try that same password or easy variations on that password on many other sites. It's called credential stuffing. So you really need unique, long, strong passwords for all your sites, and the only way to do that is to use a password manager. Password managers have gotten a lot better. They're built right into your browser. They will fill these fields in for you. They will generate passwords for you. You actually shouldn't know any of your passwords except for your master password vault. I don't. All my passwords are crazy long random passwords that there's no way I could remember. The other thing you should do, and I know that many of you don't like to do this either, and that is you need belt and suspenders. You need two-factor authentication. If for some reason the bad guys figure out your password or somehow bypass the regular authentication mechanism, you need a second layer of defense. And today that is two-factor authentication. That means that the bad guy not only has to get your password, they have to somehow get access probably to your phone where you have these two-factor authentication codes. Now, when it comes to privacy, there's so many things that I'd love to tell you, but the main things you really need to be doing are using encryption, end-to-end encryption everywhere you can, and the book tells you how to do that. And you should be using tracker blocking technology, not just ad blocking technology, but tracker blocking technology. Now, real quick before I go, I want to make one more point, and that is that privacy and security are not just me things. They're also we things. Your security and your privacy overlap mine. For example, if you were oversharing on social media and posting a lot of pictures, those pictures probably contain other people as well. If you get hacked, if your data leaks, it's quite possible that it contains information about other people too. If your computer gets hacked, that means that wherever you go, whatever network you're on, the devices around you are probably in more danger of being hacked as well. So it's important not just for you, it's important for all of us. So if you're ready to take the next step and pick some of that low-hanging fruit and improve your security of your devices and your data, check out Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons. You can also go to my website of the same name to check out my blog and my podcast. Thank you.